the audiobook for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and honestly, that was the best part of this book. It is read by Jennifer Hale, and she's a professional voice actor, and she does those voices. Every single character has their own accent, their own speech patterns. It is so distinctive, and I loved it. And I feel like if I hadn't been listening to this very entertaining audiobook, I would have gotten bored in this book in a few parts. But I didn't, because it was just so pleasurable to hear this beautiful reading of the book with so much energy and so much personality. I've got mixed feelings about this book because I really enjoyed the first third, and then my enjoyment slowly declined from there until it got to the end of the book, and then it was just sudden drop off, and I feel like the ending just ruined the whole thing? I don't know. Let's see. But one of the things that this book did do really well is the world building. That I've heard people complain that like it's too much or it's too little. I thought it was just right. There was enough of the sciencey stuff or science fiction, but it wasn't so much that this was like reading a science book. And I really felt like this world was fleshed out and alive and had so many beautiful facets, and I'm actually excited for future books in this extended universe of books. I want to follow more of these adventures. But, the book itself had some problems with pacing and stuff. Throughout the book, there were lots of these like weird vision dream sequences. And I really tried to understand them and to glean information because I understood that this was like the author planting secrets of what was going to happen and what had happened, and they were just really confusing. In the end, even after trying to understand them, these scenes were still confusing, boring, and in the end didn't actually help me understand the plot any better, so should have all been cut out. But like, the big problem, the big failure of this book's structure isn't just in like the confusing dream sequences. It's in like throughout the entire book, I was never sure where the book was going. And in some ways that was good. Like in the twist that the nightmares came from like a cancerous part of the Softblade symbiote. That was a good twist. I did not see it coming, but it worked thematically. I loved it. It helped the characters grow and have different experiences. That was a good twist. But most of the times when the plot shakes up in here, I was just like, what? And it made me care about the plot less. For example, very beginning of the book, we have Kira, and she has her team of researchers, and they're all close and buddies, and there's some really good relationships there. There's also some good tensions there. She's got her love interest. And in the beginning of the book, I was like, yeah, this is our team, and she's gonna go on a quest with them. And then they all died. And I was like, oh, never mind. I guess this isn't the quest team. And then she started meeting new interesting characters that seemed like they would be important, like Major Cheddar and Dr. Carr and other people in the fleet. And I was like, oh, these are the people that are going to be her new quest team. And then they said, oh, by the way, your first original team, not all of them, are dead. And I was like, ooh, maybe those ones are going to come back, and they are going to be part of the quest team along with these people. And then, like, the entire military ship was attacked, and like, oh no, everyone died. And I was like, oh, I guess none of them are part of the quest team anymore. And then it turned out that some of them were alive, including Major Cheddar. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I understand now. Her quest team is the military people who survived the attack. Got it. They're gonna go on the quest. There's this new alien threat. I understand where the book is going now. And then none of those people became her quest team. And at that point, I just resigned myself that Kira wasn't going to get her team. It was just going to be about her relationship with the Softblade, them coming together, them trying to understand each other, and the other characters were just for her to bounce off of, and none of them were going to be permanent. And I accepted that this was the story I was reading, and that was okay. And then we were introduced to a new team of awesome, fun characters, the Wallfish crew, and I was like, I didn't care about them at that point, because I was just so done with all of these side characters that were interesting and fun being introduced, and then never going anywhere. And then, over time, it turned out, they are totally her quest team. It took me hundreds of pages to finally attach myself to them, but in the end, I did come to care for the crew of the Wallfish, and that was fun. And then, about a third of the way through the book, Kira learns that they have to go after the mythical Staff of Blue to save the world. And I was like, oh, I get it. This is the plot. Okay, that's her quest team. I'm on board now. But I was like, okay, I guess we're going on a MacGuffin hunt. I can be down with that, whatever. And it really felt like it was breaking into Act 3, like I was almost done with the book. And I was like, well, I've enjoyed this book pretty much. And then I glanced at the timestamp on the audiobook. I was only a third through. And in that moment, I kind of thought, I don't want to do 2 more thirds of this. Even though I was enjoying the book, I liked the characters, I liked Kira, but it was just like I didn't have any emotional connection to it, and I didn't know where the plot was going, and I didn't really care at that point. But I decided I was down, it was okay, this book was gonna be awesome. And then, miracle of miracles, Cheddar came back, and I was like, yes! The thing that I predicted and wanted, and she came back, and for a second I was like fantasizing all the weird ways that Cheddar might have come back, like maybe this is like a future version of Cheddar time traveling back to help them out, like, and then it turned out no, she was just like kidnapped by aliens and brought there, and then, oh look, good aliens, and then, I don't know, she wasn't really a character much, she was just kind of info dump at that point. But plot twist that I did enjoy was the nightmares turning out to be accidentally created by Kira in the first place. That was a good twist, because up till then, I kind of had a hard time accepting Kira as like the chosen one's status. But when it was her job to go fight the nightmares, and she was the one who accidentally created these terrible monsters in the first place, it was like, the nightmares are so brilliant because they are a representation of what Kira is struggling with like the entire book, which is the negative consequences of her acting out, of her not thinking, of her instinctively defending herself and then hurting people. And that is where the nightmares come from, and her dealing with them is her thematically dealing with her inner problems as well. But then the ending just had to go and ruin it. This book asks so many questions, but it doesn't really give good answers. Like, the characters are always having these philosophical discussions, but that's like all they feel like in the end, just random philosophical discussions. For example, here are some of the questions that are asked in this book. Should you go with the flow or eat the path, which is code for go seize your own destiny? I don't know, it was really confusing. But we see this with Kira always having her life changed out from under her, and pretty much all the humans in this book. Another question, can you find peace for your past? How do you get over the guilt for things that you accidentally caused? And we see this both in Kira and in Salvo. And Salvo's already kind of found his answer, and Kira's still searching for it. Can or should humans transcend the limits of human knowledge and understanding? And we see this with the quest of the Entropists, that they're searching for this greater knowledge that will allow them to escape the heat death of the universe, and also with things like ship minds. That these are people who have become these cyborgy robot things that have great intelligence and great understanding, but lose other things. Is human intimacy valuable, and what is it worth? Because those ship minds are lonely, because they kind of gave up parts of their humanity. And we also see this with Kira, that she can't get close to people without hurting them with a soft blade, and also in her bonds with the Wallfish crew and with her family. And finally, what is sacred? And there's lots of ideas presented here, like life and God and love, the shoulders of the giants we stand on, numbers. There's lots of people who care about religious-y things and sacred things in these books. So, in the end of the book, how do these questions get answered? What are the answers that Kira, the main character, comes to? Well, let's see. Should you go with the flow or eat the path? Well, you know, I'm still confused about what eat the path even means, honestly. But in the end, Kira chose to go save the day by nuking the evil person. And then, you know, she got nuked and then turned into a mind of transcendent wisdom. So, I don't really know if that counts with going with the flow or eating the path, because, like, she decided to go save the day, but then she just kind of went with the flow in the end. How do you find peace for your past? How do you get rid of that guilt? Hunt down all of the monsters you accidentally created and kill them? I mean, that's what Kira does in the end, but she isn't building a new future, she's mopping up the spills of the past in the end. Can or should humans transcend the limits of human understanding? We actually do get an answer to this one. Yes. If you have an alien symbiote that has an evil twin and then you're caught in a nuclear blast, will you merge with... Yes, if you have an alien symbiote that has an evil twin and then you're caught in a nuclear blast, will you merge with that evil twin? And then the question, is human intimacy valuable and what is it worth? Well, Kira just leaves behind human contact in the end. So I guess, like, not worth her quest, not worth much. Like, she thinks about it for a second. And then she's like, nah, it's fine. And then in the end, like, what is sacred? Well, Kira declares its life. But then in the end, she's going on, like, a killing quest. Anyway, all of the ending I didn't like. That's really the problem here, that it introduced so many ideas and so many questions and so many possible answers to those questions, and then it didn't really feel like it got followed up on. It just, like, got declared in the end. These are the answers, and then it was like, but those are lame answers. And even if we don't look at any of those questions, the ending still bugs me so much, because Kira's journey was one about rediscovering trust and love and intimacy and all of these things, because she lost that in the beginning. And then she was searching for it, she was finding how to trust herself, how to trust others, how to trust her alien symbiote Softblade thing. And I really was looking forward to this journey. And her happy ending should have been her going on awesome quests with the crew of the Wallfish, her new family. But her ending was just like, ooh, now she has the mind of a whole planet and she's gonna go on her own side quest to go destroy evil around the universe by herself. And the book presented it like, this is Kira's happy ending. She made the peace. She did the thing. But then, like, in the end of the book, the very last, like, image we are left on is her reflecting on her biological family. And the thing is, I was never connected to this biological family. Like, they just showed up in a few messages. It just felt so empty to me, like a step backwards. Like, Kira was growing. Kira was making new relationships, and then she just threw those all away and, like, kind of reflected on her old ones. But she probably isn't ever gonna see her family again. And, like, why? I'm okay with tragic endings, but this one just felt so unsatisfying because it felt like everything was a step backwards. I feel like a good tragic ending is the hero keeps making mistakes until they accidentally walk off the cliff, and it's because of their own making. But for Kira, she was like going up the mountain towards fun times with the Wallfish, and then she just kind of slid down the mountain. The thing is, I enjoyed this book until the ending, when Kira transcends into this godlike being. Like, if I had stopped right before then, or if Kira had died in the nuke, I would have liked this book so much better. All I can think about when I look back on this book is all my disappointments. Okay, let's talk about the characters though, because I really did enjoy Kira as our main character. Like, I've heard other people say that she's like a Mary Sue. What? She, like, accidentally stabs 17 people or something. She's making so many mistakes. And I feel like the moment where I connected most to this world and to Kira was such a, like, weird little moment in the beginning, where she realized that she had lost her robotic implants that let her, like, connect to the internet with her mind. And she was so sad about it, and she said something so melodramatic, like, oh, I'd rather lose my arm than my implants. And at first I kind of laughed at that. I was like, girl, obviously an arm is better than implants. But then the more I thought about it, the more I kind of was like, I would probably make that choice too. Because one, in this world, losing an arm isn't as big of a deal, because they can, like, grow it back with their science. But also, just thinking about, like, the analogy of us. What if I had to decide right now to lose my arm for a year, or lose for the rest of my life my connection to the internet in any form? I think I'd probably choose the internet as well, and lose the arm. Another character that I liked for parts was the Softblade. You know, this venom-like symbiote that Kira was bonded with, and I really liked it through the first part, as Kira was starting to get to know it, because it was such a good mystery, and I was like, yes, they're gonna bond, and they're gonna form a relationship, which just kind of made me disappointed, because, like, as the book progressed, Kira and the Softblade did get more comfortable with each other, but it was more like someone learning to use a tool than someone making a relationship. Like, I felt like the farther the book got on, the less I felt like I enjoyed the Softblade or connected with the Softblade in any way. But there is one character that I loved from the introduction to the end of the book, and this is Grigorovich, the Ship Mind. I was watching other book reviews, and pretty much everyone said that their favorite character was Grigorovich, even though their reviews tend to trend a little towards negative. And I was thinking, like, why? Like, why do I love Grigorovich, and why does everyone love Grigorovich? And at first, I fell in love with him because Grigorovich was legitimately entertaining every time he was on screen. And I wanted to know more about him. And then as we got to know more about him, I just loved him even more because you got to see his past trauma and how he was trying to get over the trauma. And that is just like, I was invested. I was ready to come on this journey with Grigorovich as he became more emotionally stable, as he learned to love a new crew and protect them. And the big moment when Grigorovich decided to not take them into danger and to say, no, I'm controlling the spaceship and you guys aren't going into danger because I don't want to lose this crew like I lost my last one. Like, my heart went out to him. I was on his side. But there were like also other characters that I cared about the emotional journey of. Like I cared about Kira's and no, that's it. Just Kira and Grigorovich. I guess a little bit Falcone, but no. Oops. But Kira's arc ended so unsatisfactorily that like my entire view of her is so colored negatively, but Grigorovich's ended so good. It ended good for him because he decided, even though he didn't like being on the Wallfish for some reasons, he decided to stay because this was the family that he had found and he wanted to stay with them. Kind of like the decision that Kira should have made, but Grigorovich is the one that answers these questions in the end, like, in a satisfactory way. I feel like he's not only the most entertaining and fun character in the book, he's also the most important. Because he's the one in the end that shows that humans can and should transcend the limits of human understanding, because he does, and he says to Kira that he doesn't regret it, and in the end he kind of proves it, because Kira offers to make him a new body, and there he could have become like more human, but he decides no, to stay as a ship mind. And in so doing, he also answers a different question of what is human intimacy and friendship worth? Because to Grigorovich, it is worth more than his desire to be free of being stuck inside of a spaceship, because he'd rather stay with his found family in the Wallfish than go off on his own. And I want to see more adventures with Grigorovich. Like, if there was another book in this series, I would want the crew of the Wallfish, because I'm not really interested in anyone else. Just Grigorovich.